Today we are getting ready to plant our seedlings. I have some coconut coir here and some premium perlite, and uh, we got to hydrate this and then mix some of this in, and we got our seed starting mix. This is the first time I'm using this cocoa coir. I got this for, I think it was a pretty good price. It was like 20 bucks off of Amazon. It says it's OMRI listed, and it's pH balanced, which apparently is something you need to check for with cocoa coir. I don't know how I didn't realize this in past years, but there's like regular cocoa coir, and then there is what's called, what's it called? There's two types of cocoa coir. One's pH balanced, and apparently it's supposed to be better for plants because it's not too, I guess, acidic. I don't know. Anyway, oh no, enriched with plant food. Okay, promotes healthy plant growth, enriched with plant food. The other reason I got this is because apparently it has fertilizer in it already. So usually in past years, I would take my cocoa coir, hydrate it, mix in perlite, but I'd also mix in some fertilizer, like some of this stuff, which you could totally do too. It worked, it worked pretty darn good for me last year. I didn't have too many issues, so I don't know if pH balanced cocoa coir is necessary. However, it might help. Anyway, I got this because it's all mixed in everything. I don't have to mix in the fertilizer. I just have to add some perlite, and we should be good. But yeah, we're gonna do that now, so we can get these seeds started. Let's see. Some of the English on this box isn't quite correct, but just so you can get a better look at it. By the way, I'm wearing gloves because anytime you're like handling soil, especially if there's fertilizer or like perlite, which can kind of like cut up your hands a bit, it's always good to have something on so that your hands don't get all beat up. Especially if you're doing this a lot, like it can really start to like mess up your hands over time. But yeah, I don't know. It looks promising. It says you can use it for seedlings anywhere really. 10 pounds, 2.5 cubic feet. Yeah, it even says safety tip. Wear gloves and mask when using coir substrate and wash hands after use. I think we'll be okay without a mask because we're not kicking up too much dust. I got this vent fan over here kind of sucking the air out too. But it's just a brick, really. It's just a brick of coconut coir. So we're going to put that in the box with some perlite. Yeah, I try to stick with all organic stuff, especially like with seedlings, because I'm bringing them in and outdoors and stuff like that. I have pets too, so like, I don't know. I just feel way more comfortable when I stick with organic. I do that with everything. Like I used to mess around with chemical fertilizer and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really like it. So I usually stick to all organic, OMRI listed stuff just to kind of Make sure I don't have any weird chemicals or anything, but this is what I'm using this year. In past years, I was using Miracle Grow perlite, which is fine, but I didn't even realize that actually has a little bit of fertilizer mixed into it. And it is not organic, so that's why I went with this stuff this year. I'm 100% sure there's nothing in here that I don't want. But also, on top of that, I don't know if you can see well on camera, but it looks really nice compared to the stuff you get from like Miracle Grow. Like, definitely bigger chunks in here. Looks a little bit more variation in size and stuff. So, but yeah, this is a Plant Tonics Perlite Bliss. So both of these things you can get on Amazon. You know, just type in Perlite Bliss and GrowMed Coconut Core and you'll find it. But let's see where am I gonna put this. Okay, so we got some paperwork here. This is what I mean about spelling things a little funny. I don't think that's proper English. Where gardening made easy and exciting. Anyway, I guess with anything on Amazon these days, something's not worded correctly. But they actually have like a little bit of paperwork that comes with this, which is pretty neat. I think this is actually the exact same picture they had on the website. But it says, discover the secret to faster germination, healthier plants, and bountiful harvest. The addition of carefully selected plant nutrients enhances its effectiveness in promoting robust plant growth. Here's how the added plant food works to benefit your plants. And then it says, the plant food blend is formulated with a balanced ratio of essential nutrients, including VAM, vesicular, arbuscular mycorrhiza that helps foster strong and healthy root systems. Adequate nutrient availability is essential for root growth, ensuring efficient nutrient uptake and water absorption. With healthier roots, plants are better equipped to withstand environmental stress. And then it says perfect mix of nutrients. Perfect nutrient mix to elevate germination rate. And it is a mix of humic and fulvic acids with potassium, speeds up seed germination and helps plants absorb nutrients more effectively to ensure healthy growth right from the beginning. The other added essential nutrients, zinc, magnesium, I forget some of these, drive rapid growth while safeguarding against soil-borne diseases. And then it says it has nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in it. So, I mean, it should have everything it needs. Don't have to do anything but plant the seeds and let them grow. So, that's pretty cool. I never found coconut core like that in past years. It's always just been like real basic. It's either like pH bound. I have to look up the word. I'll put the word like somewhere. And but yeah, I've always had to mix in my nutrients and stuff. This is all apparently ready to go. So hopefully this will save me some time and energy. But yeah, it's just a giant brick, a coconut core. pretty much. So, I guess what we'll do here, something like that. And maybe I'll switch the camera angle a little bit just so you can see a little bit better. All right. That's a little better. So, just gonna get this out of the way. What we're gonna do is just take this brick and plop it right in the center. Oh, that is a bit dusty. So I am wearing a mask now. You should always wear gloves and a mask whenever you're doing this. Because even though it's all organic, you still don't really want to breathe it in or anything. Once it's wet, it's a different story. But right now, this is very dry and dusty. And that, you don't want to breathe in. So gloves, mask. I guess that should be obvious, but some people care more than others. I don't know. This is why I stick to organic too, just because, like, because inevitably you're going to make some sort of mess or something. I want to add about half this bag, so I put the perlite on the bottom, because then it usually gets really dusty. And if it's on the top, then when you're mixing it in, you're kind of kicking up a bunch of dust. But when you put it in the bottom, I seem to have less trouble with it. So, but I don't know if I start pouring this, if it's gonna... It's very staticky too, so be aware of that. It's gonna want to stick to everything. But I guess we're just gonna find out. Yeah, it's kind of dusty. And with seedlings, you want a good amount of perlite, because that perlite is what helps with aeration. Even though this Coco Coir says it's fairly good with aeration, perlite is always going to be way better, because it's kind of like putting air pockets in your soil, but it just helps a lot with seed starting, because they can really breathe. Otherwise, might have some issues. Oh, I think that's going to be about good. I'm not quite sure how much of that we used. Yeah, it's about half. So now comes the fun part. Adding water. The box said 4 gallons of water to hydrate this. That's about, I think it's 2.5 gallons. So we're gonna start with that. The one thing with doing your seed soil is you do not want it too wet. You do not want your soil too wet. And the reason for that is because you're gonna have a nightmare trying to plant your seeds without making a mess, things sticking to everything, what I actually do is I will actually pack my trays the day before and then let them dry out. Because at least the way I plant my seeds, I use a pair of tweezers and just poke each one into the soil. And if your soil is wet, it sticks those tweezers like crazy. And then your seeds will stick to your tweezers. And it's just a really big pain in the buns. So, you just want to hydrate your soil just enough to let this expand to its full capacity. You will have a lot less trouble. You could do it the other way. I'm kind of more particular. I like to do things very exact. Also, I have a lot to keep track of, so sprinkling seeds and covering it might not necessarily be the best solution for me. You could fill your trays or your pots or whatever you're starting with. By the way, if you're going to start in a pot, I wouldn't go any bigger than like a 4-inch pot, because then it's just going to be too much soil. They're not going to aerate well enough. Basically, the reason you're starting in a small environment is because the seeds are very small and they don't need a lot. They need a very controlled environment. So the bigger you go with pots, the harder it is for your seeds to aerate properly and germinate. So that being said, you don't want wet soil. You don't want your vessels to be too large. But what some people will do, which is fine, you can take your seed tray and then fill it to about here-ish, almost to the top. So you got about a 1/4 inch, and then you could just sprinkle your seeds on top and then come back in and top it off with more soil. But that, for me, that's a little complicated because I like to get my trays all ready, and then when I'm planting seeds, I don't want to be getting all dirty again, scooping soil into every tray. Also, I don't know, sometimes I might experiment a little bit this year, but sometimes, like, these come ready to go in 6-packs. So, like, if you're keeping these all together, which I actually prefer not to because then it's a little harder to manage later, but if you were to keep it all together, if you're doing 6 different types of peppers, you might drop one seed in the wrong spot, and then when you cover it up with soil, maybe, I don't know. It's a way to do it. It's just not the way I do it. But, yeah, so anyway, enough rambling. Let's hydrate this soil. Like I said, we're starting with about 2.5 gallons. And it's just gonna slowly hydrate and expand. The box says it takes about 45 minutes to fully hydrate. So we'll see. I don't see too much expansion yet, just the corners a little bit. Oh, okay, it's starting to break down a little bit now that I'm... Yeah, it's definitely going to need all 4 gallons. Because that hasn't even... So I'll be right back with some more water. All right. Now, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm not sure if this is 1.5 gallons or 2.5. So I think it's 1.5 gallons. That would make more sense. It's expanding a little bit. Woo. Alrighty. The other thing too with adding the perlite in the beginning is the perlite kind of gets wet and it takes the static out. So when you're mixing it, it's also not floating around like if you were to put it on top. Okay. So, I don't want to eat my words here and add too much water. Like I said, don't do, but I think I might need more water. I have to check if that watering can's 1 or 2 gallons. I'll be right back. All right, so I looked it up. That watering can is 2 gallons. So that's 4 gallons in there. So that's what it asked for. I kind of thought it would expand more at this point, but I haven't torn it apart yet. But I'm gonna let it sit for a little while, about an hour, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I mix this stuff. But I got that at Walmart. It's pretty standard. It is 2 gallons. Dose. All right, so let's come back in an hour and see what this looks like. Okay, it's been about an hour. It seems like it's expanded a bit. I kind of thought it would expand a bit more, but I think once we break it up, it will increase in volume. Right now, it's still very densely packed together. Once we break it up, I think should fill about this whole container, especially with the perlite in there. Like I said from before, I didn't want to add too much water. I can always add more, but we're gonna break into this now and see. I'm gonna show you how I do it. This is one of the best gardening tools I've ever bought, probably ever will buy. This thing. It's great for digging holes and planting stuff. Just saves you a whole bunch of effort. But just put that bad boy right on there. Tighten it up. And ooh, that shouldn't be on 2. That's the one thing with these. The faster they spin, the more they kick stuff up. So you want to be real gentle. But here we go. It still feels hard on the inside. Yeah. Huh. So I think we're going to need some more water. I'm wearing a mask right now just because it's still a bit dry. So I don't really want to breathe this in if I don't have to. But, geez, this thing really, I don't know. I think we're going to need more water. It said 4 gallons, but clearly we still got some dry bits. So we're going to have to add some more water. I'm gonna go with half of this pitcher because I don't want to overdo it. The only thing I can think of is the perlite kind of soaks up a little bit more of that water. So maybe the perlite is having an effect. But I've hydrated these things before, and just by looking at it, it didn't really seem like it had enough. I wonder if this will break up now, though. Or if it's got to sit. Ugh. Stubborn stuff, eh? I don't know, we might need that whole thing. Yeah, see how that perlite's all covered up now? It won't be giving us any problems. However, this brick does not to hydrate. I guess we're just gonna give it the whole can. Although I don't, like I said, I don't want to put too much. I feel like it's close. Because the other side looks like it's sort of like breaking up. Like that would pool up in there and sit. I don't know, maybe the better way to do this is to just kind of slowly hack away at it. This was on the bottom, so my guess is this would absorb water better. See, that's seeped in now, so that's good. We might actually be almost there. Once things get mixed up, we might be perfect. So we're at a little over 5 gallons of water, I think. But the other thing that happens too is the water will seep down and overhydrate on the bottom. So you kind of have to like play it by ear, make sure you're not overhydrating. But looks like we're almost there. I think we are going to need all that water though. Yeah. I guess that's going to have to. Let that soak in. Ooh, slow down. I don't want to get too trigger happy with the drill because it'll start spitting stuff everywhere. We're so close. I think. Gee whiz. I think pouring it slow gives it time to seep in before it just seeps right down, rolls off and falls to the bottom. But my goodness, we were not anywhere close with 4 gallons. But I think 6 gallons is probably just about right. Because this looks like we're just about. Yeah. See, it's splitting in half now. So, okay. I'm just going to add the rest of this. Keep the dust down. But I think it's going to need it anyway. This stuff is super absorbent. Yeah, okay. And you can see this auger draws the perlite up to the top fairly easily without causing a whole bunch of dust. Ooh. We still got some chunks though, my gosh. Whew. Can you imagine if I didn't have this drill, how much of a workout this would be? This is like the best tool I've ever bought, this auger. That and my electric tiller, but I'll make a different video about those. I feel like I'm making a brownie mix or something. Macadamia nut brownie mix. Don't eat it though. You wouldn't want to eat it. It wouldn't be very tasty. It'd probably hurt your teeth. But yeah, this is starting to come together. Woo. And you can see as it starts to break up, it's a little easier to work with. Okay. I would add a little bit more water, but I'm afraid of overhydrating. And I think if I leave this overnight, by tomorrow, it should be pretty evenly hydrated. I'll leave the lid on so the humidity can kind of do its thing. Wow. You know, it always happens. I'm doing really good. Of course, you always got to have something fall out. But I'm not really sure how many more pieces are still hiding in here. But yeah, these things really mix up the soil well. Looks like it's hydrating pretty well. Only a few more chunks. There's always going to be a few chunks that you miss. You just got to break up while you're filling your trays and stuff. But now the only other thing I'm thinking is I have to figure out if this is going to be enough for this year or if I'm going to have to make a second batch. Because I have to make a second batch, then that second half of that bag needs to go in another container. But this could potentially be enough for all my seedlings for this year. So if it is, then I might actually add this to this to just increase the aeration as much as possible. Because this looks pretty good. but I would prefer a little bit extra in there. However, that was already about half the bag. So like I said, if I need to use more, then oh, I was doing so well, and then I got it on my shoe. All right, well, I think what we're gonna do gives this one more quick. This is why I work with organic stuff only, because like if you get it in your shoe or something like that, it's not the end of the world. I don't have to worry about weird chemicals and stuff like that. Ooh, there's a nice chunk right there. All right, so that looks pretty good. I think I'm just gonna leave this in here. But yeah, we're gonna let that sit overnight and let it kind of like evenly hydrate. But yeah, that's how I mix my seed starting soil. And tomorrow we'll come back and start planting seeds.